What's up guys, Chris from Review Cave here, and today I'm giving you guys my thoughts and a pseudo review for Chainsaw Man. Now, over a week ago, I put a poll up on Twitter asking people about which manga I should catch up on and then make videos on as like an overall review like I've done with my Yozakura Family video, Twin Star Exorcist, Blue Star Exorcist, and Eden Zero videos, which I just want to plug in right here. Actually finally managed to make 1,000 views within less than a month. That's actually the fastest one of my videos has grown, so I might actually start doing chapter reviews for Eden Zero from now on. It all depends on timing and everything. But enough about, me shamelessly plugging in some of my older videos. Chainsaw Man is something that I was curious about for a long time. I read about 10 chapters a little while after it came out, and I thought it was pretty interesting, but I was already caught up with school and reading other stuff, so I was just going to leave it on the back burner for a while. Then I heard that it was ending, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to binge read the entire thing right before the final chapter comes out. And I managed to binge read all of Chainsaw Man before the final chapter within 3 days, spacing everything out and stuff. And it blew my mind. Now look, I'm not going to be one of those people that says that Chainsaw Man is an absolute masterpiece of writing and manga, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to shit on it or say that it's bad. It's honestly a really good manga and a really good read, but it's not perfect. That's something I do want to stress out. But despite that, it was just a really, really fun read with really good characters, in my opinion, that at first I wasn't really sold on, but grew on me as the story continued. Chainsaw Man actually turned out to be part 1. What we got right now on Weekly Shonen Jump was part 1 of Chainsaw Man, and it was 97 chapters, and I was kind of shocked because I had a feeling that it wouldn't have ended so quickly because of how popular it is. And from how I was reading it, there was just a lot of stuff set up in Chainsaw Man and established and even introduced to us that if they ended it the way they did completely, one, I would have been okay with it, but there would also be some other stuff that I'll be like, I wish we explored this a lot more. And now that there's a part 2 coming out, then I'm just honestly really excited for this. Not to mention, it's moving from Weekly Shonen Jump to Shonen Jump Plus, which is where a lot of more monthly series are. Chainsaw Man might actually be monthly or maybe bi-weekly. I need to double check on that, but I do believe Jump Plus or Jump Square is the monthly one. But regardless of where it's going to be on, since it's being changed from Weekly Shonen Jump to Jump Plus, there's actually a lot more freedom on there because, for one, Weekly Shonen Jump is more for teenagers and a lot of times for kids also, and young teens. But with Jump Plus, a lot of stuff is a bit more mature and there's less censorship, or you can get away with more stuff. And Chainsaw Man, I'm just going to get right into it right now but Chainsaw Man is honestly really good in something that if you don't like graphic imagery or suggestive imagery, if anything, then it might not be the manga for you. But Fujimoto has a really unique art style, kind of rough, but also very unique and detailed, where in Weekly Shonen Jump in general, you do have dark themes and dark moments, as well as a few things with the artwork. But Fujimoto pushes the limits with each chapter. You could have a chapter where the main character is fighting a demon inside its own stomach and trying to cut it out and stuff like that, or fighting a giant devil with a cracked open baby head surrounded by a twister of entrails. I can only describe the action and the imagery in Chainsaw Man as just batshit insanity. And I loved it. I love classic battle shonen manga. I mean, you can basically tell from all the reviews I've done. I'm mostly a shonen fanboy. I'm all shonen. But Chainsaw Man is very different in the fact that it mostly feels like a seinen, because while there is a lot of dark themes, a lot of death, and it is pretty graphic most of the time, Chainsaw Man tells a pretty unique story with interesting characters that get fleshed out and developed as the story progresses, and it does honestly feel very refreshing in its own way. Yes, there are a lot of manga and anime out there that do stuff with demons, and in this case, devils, you can see everywhere else. But Chainsaw Man does it in a way where it almost feels somewhat unique, but also feels like it's paying homage to other anime and manga that have done similar things. So real quick, I'm just going to say what the basic story of Chainsaw Man is about, since I've kind of glossed over that at the very beginning after gushing over it. But anyway, it follows the protagonist Denji as he was basically raised in poverty, and his father, after dying, had amassed such a huge debt with the Yakuza that he had begun to work as a devil hunter after meeting a chainsaw dog devil named Pochita in order to work down his own debt. And he lived in a rundown shack with barely anything to sustain him and only really eating like toast with jam on it. And he was kind of content with it, but he yearned for something more. But what made this guy a pretty interesting protagonist was that he liked the simpler things in life. He didn't have some grand goal of being the Wizard King, the Hokage, #1 hero, or the king of the pirates. He was just a regular dude that had a shitty life, and finally, after everything that's happened, he just wants to have a roof over his head and eat good food and get a girlfriend. That's basically his main motivation. He does want to just have an easy life despite him having to hunt devils. It makes him very relatable in his own way. It's very weird considering that if you look at it, he actually might be one of the most relatable shonen protagonists we've seen in Shonen Jump in a long time. Because everybody else has their own circumstances, but Denji just feels like an average dude that just got pulled into a world of madness outside of his own control. And we follow Denji's adventures as he joins a agency full of devil hunters. He meets new people, and we see a lot of differing personalities, different devils, the different categorizations for devils, and how they form. The explanation they give is that the devils are amassed from people's collective fear and uneasiness of the unknown. Like, there could be a devil for death, there could be a devil for hell, a devil for darkness, a devil for, well, chainsaws. And that's basically Denji's powers. Something happens, ends up being on the brink of death. The devil dog he has decides to make a contract with him, becomes Denji's new heart, and Denji now has the ability to become Chainsaw Man, having chainsaws on his arms, legs, and a demonic metal chainsaw face, which looks pretty badass. And a lot of the characters we meet in this series really grow on you pretty quickly. Like, I wasn't a big fan of Power when I first saw her. I'm like, okay, she's pretty fun. But as the story progressed, and it was literally like within a few chapters, she grew to be one of my favorite characters. Super energetic, super eccentric, always prideful, trying to take credit for everything, or blaming Denji for the bad shit that she does. It's just hilarious, and I can see why people were talking up this series with its characters. We also have other characters like Makima, which is like, who seems like a bit very mysterious and gives off this aura that she knows more than anyone else, or what she's letting off, which I like characters that give off an aura of knowing more than they're telling everyone else, like there's something bigger going on. We also have another character called Aki who seemed like super serious about everything, and doesn't really care about Denji and Power. But as the series progresses, we know that the guy is actually the most reasonable and caring person in that whole group. And it just goes to show how much thought Fujimoto has actually put into his characters, and with the unique circumstances and actions that everyone ends up going through and committing, we see how he just planned out the development and growth of each of these characters. Even when some really messed up shit happens in this manga, and believe me, there's a lot of messed up stuff that happens in this manga, which, you wouldn't be able to get away with it in a regular weekly Shonen Jump title. Now, aside from the characters, which are just amazing, well, not like top tier, but for Fujimoto, it just really just feels like they're real. It feels real with a lot of these characters. You can connect with them a lot more than a lot of characters in normal Shonen Jump series, because it usually takes you either instantly or gradually longer to get to really like these characters, or almost all the characters. In Chainsaw Man, the vast majority of the characters, within the first third of the series, you instantly like the main cast and a lot of the side characters that you get introduced to. But the characters aren't the only thing that really does interest me about the series and why people should read it. Like I basically said earlier, Fujimoto has some really rough and detailed artwork, which not only with just the fight scenes, but also with some of the scenes with other characters. It just feels very chaotic, but also polished in its own way. I'm not an artist or an art critic or something, so take my words with my own personal experience with manga and everything. But it just feels really refreshing to see a title do all this, whether it be a lot of blood or a lot of gore in a fight. The manga doesn't shy away from how brutal a fight can be, or how much fighting literal devils created by people's worst collective fears could have a toll on someone's mental state, or even bring them to the point of them not really caring about their own or other people's lives, just to care about the job and dealing with what they have to do. Fujimoto's artwork is honestly really good. I really like his artwork. Even though it seems very simplistic outside of the action scenes, you can tell he does put a lot of detail whenever he really needs to, whether it be for certain characters' designs or facial expressions, or again, with the action scenes, or just really awesome double designs. Because you really get a feeling of madness or fear whenever you see a devil that's supposed to represent a particular fear of humanity, which is honestly pretty creative. Like I said, the Chainsaw Man story is not like incredibly vast and long. It's literally 97 chapters, but this is only part one. And in that one story, we get a good amount of answers, whether it be about the devils and how they work and operate, essentially how they're formed, Denji, his character growth, the other side characters, how Denji is actually a bit more important than we believed at first, and even some secrets of the world of Chainsaw Man. Because the world of Chainsaw Man is pretty interesting. Not just the fact that there are devils across the globe, and there sometimes people try to like get these devils like contracted so that they could gain power. But this world is also unique in that there are certain groups that don't exist anymore in our world that still exist in Chainsaw Man. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but before the final arc, we basically get confirmation that the Soviet Union still exists in Chainsaw Man, which is just insane. It goes to show that Fujimoto's crafted his own world. While it does literally feel like it's taking place in our world, just with like devils roaming around or appearing out of nowhere, causing trouble or killing people, he puts his own twist on it and making it like it's an alternate timeline to our own world and making it very original, which is honestly nice. And while the story is not like super long, it's a bit more streamlined. If you take into account his other work, Fire Punch, which now I'm really inspired to read after reading Chainsaw Man, because a lot of people have been talking about Fire Punch, and when he announced he was making this new series, people had a lot of high hopes for it, and a lot of the high hopes have been met. But now that there's going to be a part 2, I can only now really hope that the next part of Chainsaw Man lives up to this first part, and maybe even possibly exceed it. Because Chainsaw Man can actually go on for a lot longer, depending on how much Fujimoto has thought out the story of this manga. But yeah, Chainsaw Man is a really fun and entertaining manga with likable characters, a pretty interesting story, and killer artwork, and just pure insanity throughout, which you cannot just help to get addicted with. Like I paced myself and I finished the manga in like 3 days. I paced myself, did breaks, I read other stuff in between, and I went outside my house to actually enjoy the fresh air instead of reading manga all day. But yeah, Chainsaw Man is really worth your time. Again, if you're not a fan of gore or very dark humor or explicit themes, then it might not be the manga for you. But if you don't mind that stuff and you just like awesome, detailed, and chaotic artwork, fun and likable characters that you grow to like almost instantly, Chainsaw Man is the manga for you. It's not a full-on masterpiece, but has the potential, now that it's getting another part, to be even better than it already is. And I could see it being a real smash hit when its anime comes out. So that's actually another thing I want to end off this video with real quick. Studio Mappa has been confirmed to be doing a Chainsaw Man anime that's going to come out this year, apparently. And I am honestly really excited. And also a big concern because of how Fujimoto's artwork is like, and how chaotic and detailed it is, that it might not translate well in anime form. But Mappa has done a pretty good job with Jujutsu Kaisen, Dorohedoro, Attack on Titan. And I'm going to be really honest, I have high hopes for the anime, and while I do have my concerns, I feel like Mappa can do it if they pace themselves and keep a pretty decent team on staff. But with that tangent out of the way, have you guys read Chainsaw Man also, if you're watching this video? Or have I interested you in actually giving Chainsaw Man a read? I want to keep this video very brief so that, and as spoiler-free as possible, or pretty much entirely spoiler-free, so that I wouldn't take away from the experience of reading Chainsaw Man yourselves. It's a good manga, and a lot of the hype around it is well deserved, and I only have high hopes for it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the notification bell so you can get updated on future videos. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at the official Review Cave for updates on future videos. And finally, from the poll I did on Twitter, I have the list of a bunch of different manga that I'm going to be catching up on and doing videos on, like Mashal, Undead Unluck, Phantom Seer, Dr. Stone, Spy X Family, Kaiju number 8, etc. So look forward to those videos in the future, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.